All right. Well, good afternoon. Good morning for some of you. My name is Bez Rengifo, and we're about to get this party started. And thanking Recruit CRM, a great company. If you're looking for a good recruitment SaaS product, if you're a recruiter or a company, hey, go check them out. Um, But today we are going to talk about the subject, this special subject which is about the candidate experience. But before that, I've been asked to introduce myself, and I don't always like to talk about myself. But here's what you know, I've been given something to talk about myself. So, hello everyone, and welcome. This is another episode of Recruit CRM's LinkedIn Live series. I'm Bez Rengifo, and today we're tackling one of the biggest challenges in hiring, and that is creating a fair and transparent candidate experience. So, for over 25 years, I've worked across talent acquisition, HR operations, recruitment, marketing, workforce planning, and leading teams, shaping hiring strategies, and helping businesses navigate the complexities of talent management and talent acquisition. I've been responsible for hiring over 45,000 people in just 7 months, and that wasn't just me, it was a whole team of me, but I was part of that team. And I've led large scale hiring initiatives across healthcare, technology, finance, government, and more. Throughout my career, one thing has been clear: candidates deserve better. Amen to that. Too often, hiring processes are unclear, inconsistent, and even unfair, leaving job seekers frustrated, and businesses missing out on great talent. But what if we had a clear framework to ensure every candidate was treated with respect, transparency, and fairness? That's exactly what we're discussing today. Before we jump in, a big thank you again to Recruit CRM for hosting this session and for providing AI powered tools that help recruiters streamline hiring while keeping the candidate experience front and center. So let's get started. This is going to be fun. How many, if you're out there and you're Team Bez, put in the chat Team Bez, and let me know that you're behind me, because I need the feedback. I need to feel the energy from you guys. So I just don't want to point to my little smiley face in the back. I want you to give me some love too. All right. So show that in the chat if you will. I might not be able to see it, but I'll see it later. All right. So there's a couple things that we want to talk about. And if I'm looking to my right, because I do have notes. Chavi is saying hi, Bez. All right, Team Bez, we got it. Okay, good. All right. So, there's a few things. Hey, Christina, good to see you. Oh, we got Chris in the house. All right, I'm going to give a few shout outs. So, thank you for saying Team Bez. If you say Team Bez, I'm going to give a shout out right now in the beginning. So, we're going to get started here. Thi- this 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 is near and dear to my heart. I've been opening up a room for it's a 10-week career sprint, and I open it up every morning at 9 o'clock, and I let people that are in their career transition, job seeking, and they're all in the entire spectrum. And I open it up for an hour every morning just as a support room. I give a tip, we try to implement it, and we hold each other accountable and support each other. But the common thread I keep hearing is that, things like I apply and I get ghosted. I do this, I go for an interview, never hear back from the recruiter or the hiring manager. And those are all missed opportunities. It pains me to hear those things, because as recruiters on the other side, as hiring leaders, as hiring organizations on the other side, we can do better. Come on, people. We can. We just have to have a plan on what to do. But before we get that, I'd like to share some statistics that that will land with you. Okay, so um, here's something. 72% of candidates report feeling completely invisible during the hiring process. That's not good, folks. Um, Imagine you apply and you hear nothing, crickets, radio silence, and that's just frustrating. And that's, that is a systemic breakdown of human dignity in the workplace. I mean, there's a this is going to blow your minds away. There is a statistic, like, how much is it costing us, Bez? How much is it costing? It's costing you a lot of money around the world. And this is something that you're going to be surprised by the number. So tell me and put in the chat, do you think it's costing millions, billions, gazillions, trillions? What Put in the chat, what do you think it's costing us? I'm going to give you 5 seconds, so type in it's $1 million problem, it's $1 billion problem, it's $1 trillion problem, it's a gazillion-dollar problem. Put in the chat what you think it's costing. All right, so let me see. No answers on that, but I'm going to give you the answer. So it's costing. So LinkedIn Workforce Insights did a study, and it revealed a shocking number that companies lose an estimated $4.4 trillion annually. Christopher said billions on a global scale. He was almost right. It's actually trillions. $4.4 trillion annually due to poor candidate experiences. And that's not a typo, folks. That's the trillion, TRILLION. And I don't like to spell, words live, but I did because I wanted to make a point. So that's not good. It did. I mean, if you think that's bad, put in the chat way bad. If you think, hey, if you don't think anything else, or if you think it's good, then I don't want you to put anything. But if you think that it's a bad thing, put way bad. All right. So let's go on here. All right. So we're today we're going to be introducing something that's been talked about for many years. But basically, we're going to talk about transparency and respect and fairness in the hiring practices. And I would like to say it's transformative. What I'm going to share with you today is that it's Chris is saying it's horrible. I would like to say that it is I've come up with the silver bullet, or the fountain of youth, but I haven't. Actually, it's been in front of us. So let's talk about how are we going to transform our organizations as we think about talent acquisition. So uh, think think of this. Think as for the GPS for ethical recruitment, and we're just not talking about a process. We're talking about human respect, okay? Because companies with transparent hiring process, they see a 3.5% higher candidate engagement and twice or 2x faster talent acquisition cycles, okay? So think about that. Those numbers are important. If you implement these things, this is going to help you. Um, it's not only just about the numbers, it's also about restoring dignity in one of the most valuable moments in a professional's career, right? And that's the job search. Think about that. Okay. Imagine a world where every application gets acknowledged. Okay. Now, I know the challenges on the inside, but that becomes a data management strategy you have to think about as an organization. And there's many things we can talk about that. We're just going to hit on some of the things. So, what about imagine a world where feedback is constructive but not crushing? And I know legal wants to tell us, don't say anything, shut your mouths. And they do that because for many reasons. Some of us are more trained than others, and some of us may say the wrong things, but they don't want to go out and defend what we have to say. Raise your hand if you know companies that don't give feedback no matter what, good or bad. I know a few. Okay. So, yes, and say something in the chat. Yeah, companies don't give me feedback. All right. That's not abnormal. But imagine a world where, you got constructive feedback and it wasn't crushing. Imagine if transparency isn't a luxury, but a standard. Wow, what would that look like? Right? Um, let's imagine a world where your professional worth is always respected. Okay. So, wow, what that, so we're about to break down how this, you know, fair and transparent and human process looks like, and it becomes your organizational superpower. Um, so let me ask you this: are you ready to revolutionize recruitment? If you're ready, say, "I'm ready." Okay, I want to see that in the chat because as I'm getting my notes going, I'm really excited about this because I'd like to talk a little bit more about this. Um, you know, this is something that, before we dive into it, I want to share a personal story, right? I've been in interviews where, I've gone through multiple rounds of interviews and everybody along the way was telling me they're interested and that they're moving me along. And when I got to, I believe it was the 3rd or 4th interview, and then they were all separate interviews, all of a sudden, I didn't hear from them, right? And I thought I had a great relationship with them. I thought that there was, an understanding. I did show up for each interview, and I showed up, and I showed up more prepared for each interview because I knew that the interview from the first interview, I just had to be good enough to get in. But every succeeding interview after that, I had to even be better because, that's when it really matters, right? A lot of people think we gotta nail it on the first interview. And while you should perform your best, you should also realize that interview is used. You just gotta be good enough to get into the pool. Okay. So the other interviews start to get more important. So I got really vested into this, right? It's, you take your career seriously, you act as a professional, and you are pouring literally blood, sweat, and tears into your job search. And then after the 4th interview, I didn't hear back. And after a couple days, I followed up professionally, didn't hear back. And then I I reached out to someone I knew within the organization. "Hey, what's going on?" I thought, things were going good, and, uh, and the person said, "Let me check into it that, I'm not in the process." I understand it's not your issue. Um, and eventually, it got back to me that, you know, they had moved on, and that's because of me, because something happened within the organization that affected their budget. Now, I'm okay if you give me bad news, whether I'm not the right person or that something, that was out of the control or something happened with your budget took, you know, happened. And but the lack of communication actually made me question whether you were going to be the right company for me, because I do take my career seriously. And I'm not just only and this is not just me. I know that when you're out there searching for a job, you're not only looking for a good job, but you're looking for the right fit. You don't want to go into a situation where it's just a waste of your time and you're spinning your wheels. So we as candidates, we look for for a good match too. So let's go into this after. So telling you my story, I'm hoping that some of you don't go through that, and if you do, I understand. I've been there, done that. But I'm gonna take a pause here as I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. I'm seeing Lathiba, I'm seeing Chavi saying, wishing me well. Christina, Team Bez, Chris, Jim Slavic, hello, hello. And I'm seeing some new entrants into the chat. Sherilyn, good to see you all the way from Minnesota. I wonder if it's cold over there because and Maria says, I'm ready. Okay. So if you ever watched In Living Color and you'd watched Wanda from way back, and she would say, I'm ready to go. All right, I'm ready to go. And we're going to talk about this. Sherilyn says she agrees with you 100, agrees with me 100%. How a company interacts with you is important. Amen to that. So let's do that. That was a setback for me a little bit. It took the wind out of my sails. But fast forward here, we're in 2025, and we're not talking about change. We're engineering a recruitment revolution. So that's what I'm into. I'm into a revolution, right? We're gonna turn this thing upside down, and these solutions are right in front of us. So if we're talking about being a fair and transparent and a human like process, or a candidate experience that we're trying to give people, then here are some components that are we have to enact. And the first one is we have to, number one, have transparency. What that means, no more black hole applications, right? You ever apply and you don't hear from the internet black hole? Absolutely. I'll raise my hand to that. And if you've done that, say, just put it in your chat, internet black hole. Okay, good. Now the other thing, and I see that Sherilyn saying it's -3 degrees in Minnesota, and I'm just getting cold thinking about that. So the other thing is dignity, right? Dignity is the other thing that's a game changer, right? You would think that that's common sense, but if I'm here talking about it, maybe not so common. Dignity. Every candidate deserves genuine feedback. I believe in that. And I believe there is a right way to do it without getting in legal jeopardy. General counsel, hear me. There is a way. Okay. Internet black hole. Yes, there's people saying they've been in the internet black hole hell. Empowerment. Let's turn rejection into opportunity. And I'm going to show you how that looks like, because it can be done. There is a better way, right? What do they say? Um, this is the way. I have spoken, or something like that. Some of those Star Wars things. If I said it wrong, someone correct me in the chat. All right. So what are we going to do? So let's talk about some interesting principles. And here's some breaking news. It's just coming into my feed. Breaking news: 67%. If organizations implement these principles, the breaking news says 67% improved employer brand. Who doesn't want an employer brand? And a lift of 67% is really good. These are statistics, folks. This is breaking news. It's coming in. 52% faster talent acquisition. Wow. Who doesn't want to hire faster and improve their employer brand? All right. The other number that's really important for corporate America, and the bottom line, is 40% reduction in recruitment costs. So if you were to tell C-suite people, hey, I'm going to show you how to improve their employer brand by 67%, and I'm going to um, be twice as fast at recruiting and reduce your cost by 40%, they would say, I'm all ears, Bez. Tell me how. All right. So leaning forward, this isn't just about recruitment. This is a movement, folks. And let's get started. So here's what we're gonna do. I keep running into my notes with all the statistics. There's so many statistics, but we're gonna dive into this, and we're gonna show you the way. All right. So, um, bum bum bum. All right. So what we're gonna do is, to have, you know, some of the friction points in our process is communication gaps, right? So what if we're having communication gaps, what can we do different, right? And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to um, make sure that people get timely feedback, right? So here's what we're going to do. If a candidate, number one is if you want to not get into the internet black hole, you're going to have to figure out that at a certain number, you may need an organization may need to shut down the job posting because then they have to manage more. And here's the thing, internally, we have to it could be an hour, 2 hours, and there's already 300, 400 who applied, right? Sometimes at the end of the day, there's over 1,000 people that applied for a post. So if you're an organization, you may want to limit how many people you're going to data manage, right? So you have to make that strategic decision, and you're going to have to keep a pulse on that because you want to get back to people, even if it's a simple email, but it's a timely communication. If you've decided, hey, this is the my pool of people that I'm going to work with, then you want to send communications to everybody, including those that you're going to bring into the pool of candidates and those that are not going to make the cut. And it's okay to let them know, but let them know and give them an opportunity to other. Oh, hello. Was I muted? Okay. But give an opportunity to get the into another position. All right. So, I know this is 30 minutes and I'm running out of time here, but Um let's do this. So, what you're going to have to do is um wow, this is so much information that I want to share is we're definitely going to have to maybe do a different one. But if we're going to transform, here's what we're going to do. Here's a framework we're going to come into, and we're going to get this done in the next few minutes here. All right. So the first one, and so let me ask you this in the chat. Why don't you put what is the most challenging thing as a from a candidate experience for you? Is it the internet black hole? Is it getting ghosted? What are some of the things that really cause you a lot of angst? So let's do this. So here's I'm going to give you a quick 3-tier implementation model. So this is from an organizational standpoint is to take action. Here's I developed this 3-tier implementation model, and one is immediate activation. Redesign the first thing you're going to do is redesign your job description within 30 days. And when you redesign your job description, you're going to create transparent communication protocols, and you're going to implement a 48-hour candidate response guarantee. Now, this is things that I hear internet black. Oh, that's pretty popular. I hear things with people say, like, well, 48 hours. Well, hey, if I mean, you do want to provide a good candidate experience. So these are some things that you can do to make immediate changes today. Okay, and you have to do it strategically from with your leaders and get this done. The second thing is you have to do a systemic redesign, and that's basically provide mandatory unconscious bias training. You can develop AI powered fair screening mechanisms, but be careful with that. Use the tool to do justice within the process. Create a candidate experience feedback loop. So allow the candidate to provide feedback and you be able to receive it, and there's a communication going. Okay. So the third thing you're going to do, and we're going to just sort of taper off. I've got a whole bunch of things on how to drill down and take care of this, but I'm just going to make it simple in a 3 model implementation mode. The third thing you're going to do is what I call the cultural metamorphosis. All right. And how does that look like? That's the elevation of HR from administrative or compliance to a function of strategic human potential architects. And I know many HR organizations have gone that route, but hey, maybe you create, you know, a chief candidate experience officer role. I mean, there's you know, customer experience roles. Well, why couldn't you do one on the candidate, right? And then have performance metrics tied to the candidate satisfaction. Okay. And again, this is we already stated the numbers, what this will improve. And again, this what we're trying to do is make a movement that is with human dignity and professionalism in mind. Okay. So I'm going to stop it there. Are there any questions that we have available, Labitas? I just want to make sure that I know you scheduled this for 30 minutes, and I could go on for hours on this subject, but I want to make sure we're handling any questions.
Yes, best, no issues. You can go on for 5 10 minutes, and then we can have the question session and then wrap it up. No issues.
All right. So you're saying I can go for how many more minutes?
We can extend to 5 10 minutes. Yeah, no issues.
Okay. So let me see what I'm gonna do then now. So I'll finish out at the bottom of the hour. So just a couple things here. And by the way, for those that are in the chat, go ahead and put in, what is the issue that is it bothers you as a candidate, right? This is an open feedback loop that we've been talking about, but you need to interact with me because I'm going to go shout this from the mountaintops and I'm going to talk to industry and I'm going to talk to your bosses and I'm going to say there is a better way because I have spoken and it is the truth. All right. I know I'm saying that wrong, but I love it how they say this at Star Wars. I think they say, this is the way I have spoken. I wish I could do that in my family, but I think I'd get a shoe thrown at my head or something like, what are you talking about? Anyways, all right. So, here's a question from Maria. What is your take on providing real time feedback before ending the interview as the hiring manager? Okay. So I'm going to take that you're a hiring manager, Maria. And by the way, thank you. It's good to see you. Um, here's I don't think I think that's actually good, right? Uh, because you wanna have okay, so if you're thinking about the future, why don't you talk about the present, right? And that is giving feedback in real time. And you just have to be human about it. And you can do some comparison, but whatever feedback you give, it must be about the job. Okay. I see sometimes hiring managers give feedback on nothing that's related to the job. And that's where the attorneys get really in a pickle or they don't trust anybody in the organization and they try to shut that down. I think if you're trained correctly and you're able to give an unbiased we're all biased, but as much as you can from a candidate experience, a very structured feedback that is related to the job and you're in the hiring process, why not? Here's one thing I do when I worked internally. People say, "Don't prep people for the interview." Well, look, I want them to be successful when they come in. So you giving them feedback as they move on to the next phase, well, of course you want them to be successful. So you may tell them what are some talking points with the other hiring manager and other leaders that they're going to interview. You can give them feedback on, hey, as it pertains to the job, maybe you should talk about this more. Instead of giving the feedback in from a negative standpoint, you can say, you know what? You talked about this, but I think it would serve you better if, as you move on in the interview process, that you talk about this um, part of the job more. Okay, so instead of saying, well, you didn't, you really didn't talk about that, and that's not good. No, just say. It's just how you phrase it and how you put it. Remember, number one, it has to be about the job description. If it's not, if it's, there's so many parts to the interview process that becomes data points. But if you're giving feedback on something, where we get into problems and when we're talking things outside of the job description, and then people come and they say, "Well, I didn't get chosen because, they were asking me questions about, this street cover that's round, and they were asking me all sorts of questions." And so they start to make claims that uh, m- make you look like you have discriminated. And you may not have known that you discriminated, or that you used a certain question that had no relation to the interview, and you screened them out because of that. You thought you were a little bit smart and you say, "Hey, I'm going to screen people out. I'm going to ask them a quantum physics question, see them sweat." No, that has no place. And sometimes people even get into family because they know the person. How's the family? No, do not discuss anything in an interview that does not relate to the interview. So that's a great question. I believe you can give feedback, thoughtful and forward positive feedback that makes a person feel good and is constructive. I hope that serves you well. Let me see if there's a final thought that I'd like to share. I've got so many. I mean, there's a lot that you can do in this area, from how you do a financial impact analysis of the candidate experience, because poor candidate experience does cost companies quite a bit of money, and even it hurts their employer brand. So all of these things, and so, the last thing I want to point out, because I only have limited time, is sometimes, when we have a position we're recruiting for, that the enterprise or the organization have other positions, and it is our duty as hiring leaders to identify good candidates for other opportunities. Because if you're interviewing them for your position, part of being a good leader is being good stewards, right? Good stewards of the fiscal budgets of an organization. And if you're interviewing a great person, you need to be able, and you think they may be good for another department, it's your duty to let that other department know about it, and even communicate to that candidate, say, "Hey, I think you may be good at another department as well, and I'm going to share this information with another hiring leader. What I'll do is I'll either have them call you, or call you back with, what's going to happen." And so these are opportunities for you to give hope to people. Now, it's not false hope. It's like, hey, there's a potential there, right? And don't make any promises, right? It's just you're identifying opportunities. The other thing too is, a lot of times when we interview, we have the what we call the silver medalist, right? And a lot of times we think that when we identify the person, they're going to take our offer. Now, if you do it correctly, you'll know if they're gonna take your offer. Because I know when people aren't gonna take an offer, because I start talking about many things the first time I touch somebody, right? And as I move them through the process. So I rarely have surprises. Now they do happen, but they're minimized in my world, right? So what you wanna do is, as you're identifying the person you wanna hire, that there are times there's a competing offer that beats your offer, or maybe it's not even money, maybe it's a better fit for them, maybe it's a lifestyle thing that works better for them, right? Because life is long, and life is not linear. It has different movements, and sometimes they're in a stage in their life that they need something that fits them better, right? So with that being said, the silver medalist becomes really important. So that means that you cannot drop the ball on the silver medalist. You have to treat them really good and guide them through the process, and give them appropriate feedback in a timely manner. In fact, uh, I would say it's almost like a little project. Tell them when you're going to get back with them, and put it on your schedule. as a leader, as a hiring authority, as the recruiter. Put it on your schedule and tell them, I'm going to call you back on this day at this time, and I'll give you whatever information I have. Do that so that way you're setting expectations. If you don't set expectations for yourself or the candidate, then you're not going to get back. You're going to get busy. All right. And I understand as a recruiting leader, I know that if you're working on hard to fill positions, that as a recruiting leader, I can't give you more than 10 to 12. More than that, you're in the weeds. Okay. And I know people fight me. Oh, I have 30, 50 recs. No, you're not effective at 30, 50 recs. Don't, it ain't. Now, if you have perpetual positions that it's one position, but you have 50 of those and it's a constant, that's a constant where you're filling them because they're like a customer service or call center. That's a whole different position. So I know that a lot of you carry 30 to 50 recs. So it is behooves you to put things on your calendar to get them done. They can be 15-minute slots. The last thing is that I do know recruits that have more than 50 recs. I have seen recruits with 200 recs. There's going to be some conversations you're going to have with your leader if you're being pushed down that route of what is effective and what can you realistically manage. I know we as recruiters are people pleasers, and we want to do the impossible, and many of us do the impossible, and but we have to also be realistic. All right, I know we want to wrap it up here. My friend, do we have any questions in the chat or anything I need to address?
Yes, thank you so much, Bez. That was such a lovely session. Now, yes, like Bez said, we can pick up questions. So feel free to drop in the questions you have for Bez. We'll be picking them up. Yep, let's give them a few seconds to drop their questions.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll share one that was this morning while people are putting in the chat a question they may have. A question was shared either yesterday or this morning in we have this what I call a 10-week career sprint, and we're ending on March 28th. So if anybody wants to jump in, you'll see it on my one of my featured posts or whatnot, and you just register and go in there. But one of the questions that was asked is, hey, what if someone asks why I have a gap in my in my employment history, and I have a gap because I had a health condition I had to address, and it was a serious one. um so one of the things that you need to be mindful of is what you share. What we call healthcare information is PHI, private health information, and that is protected because companies have HIPAA laws they need to, here in the United States, they need to abide by. So what you, and even if you're working in an, you have you're working and you need to take time off because you got sick, and you really don't need to tell your supervisor all the details. You need to say, hey, I'm sick, I don't feel good, I need to take time off, and that's it. And then you go get your get any documentation you need from the doctor and submit it through the appropriate channels with the assistant of HR or whoever handles that information. You will notice that even when the doctor writes a note back and says, they don't put a lot of details, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's protected health information. So when you're getting asked in an interview or even in your boss, it's really none of their business, right? But sometimes they don't know better, and they think they need to know this information. Your response should be, it was a personal health issue that I had to take care of, and I'm good right now. I'm 100%. I'm back on the attack. I'm ready to go. And then don't make it such a big deal. Move on, right? If you stay at that question, then it gets a little awkward, and people make it a bigger deal. So don't make uh you know a molehill out of a mole. Okay, let's minimize that and just move on, right? Any other questions that I'm seeing there? Um, Well, if there's no questions, I won't keep you any longer. What I'll do is I do have a little outgoing message I want to share. And is now the right time, or are we do you have anything else that we need to talk about?
Yes, yes, Bess, you can go ahead. Yep, we can get there.
All right. So, yep, I've got my script here in front of me, so I'll make it as friendly as possible. So, I just want to say thank you for those that showed up today. This has been meaningful for me. I hope it's been meaningful for you. I'm very passionate about the candidate experience, and that we're transparent and that we're fair in this process, and that we can do better as organizations. Now it's your turn. How will you improve your hiring process? That's my question to you. And if your team is still struggling with manual processes or disconnected system, it's time to make things easier. And one of the things I am partnered here with Recruit CRM because they truly are heart centered. That's sort of important. That is very important to me. And they help recruiters across 100 countries streamline their hiring, reduce the admin work, and make things easier. And they really focus on what matters, and that's you, the people, right? So I want to say a huge thank you to them for making this session possible. It is on their platform. And for all of you that are tuning in, if you found today's session valuable, follow Recruit CRM. They put time and effort into this. They went and found me and they said, "Hey, Bez, I think you can share a message that resonates with our audience." And after talking with them, I said, "I agree with you." So I want you to give them some love. Follow them and follow them on their website, follow them on LinkedIn, and for more, and you're going to see they're going to share more expert-led discussions like this one. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. I am a people collector of nice people. So if you're nice, connect with me. I'm all about the connection. All right. So until next time, I want you to hire with fairness, transparency, and conversation. All right. See you soon, and we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you.